Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual, folks. Look, things are getting difficult. Things are getting tight. Things are quite different. But what we have to ask ourselves, my friends, is why? Why are things so difficult? Why are people expressing themselves the way they're expressing themselves? Why are things so out of whack? It's not the people's fault. It is not. The reality is we are all programmed. We are all programmed to behave a certain way. We are all programmed to misinform. We are all programmed to take bad information. We are just programmed and programmed and programmed in all the wrong ways. And you know what? Why is it so difficult to break out of it? It is difficult to break out of it because, as it turns out, these guys are effective. As it turns out, they know what they're doing. As it turns out, they have the science behind them. And how do we get around the science behind them? We inform. We keep our people informed. And that is the whole and sole purpose of Politics Done Right. Our goal is to inform. Our goal is not only to inform, but to make a difference. And how are we intending to do that? By just giving you the truth. By just pointing out the things that look pretty standard, look like, that is the way things are supposed to be. That is what we're supposed to do. And that is what we will do. We are going to be out there, folks. We are going to be out there telling it to you like it is. We are going to be out there giving it to you like it is. But we need you to help us do that by sharing. So if you take a look at what I'm doing on Facebook right now, I'm saying, folks, share, please. Please make sure that other people get to see what we're doing. Please make sure that other people as well are informed, because if that is not the case, it's all for naught. If that is not the case, it is all for naught. And we know that we can, we will make a difference. So anyhow, what is the program title today? Today we have an interesting title. Why are Americans confused? What is the real fight and who is the real enemy? That is a question that you have to ask yourself. Who is the real enemy, folks? Is the real enemy our Republican friends? Is the new enemy our Democratic friends? Is the new enemy those the libertarians, etc., etc., etc.? Hell no, they're not. We are all in the same boat, and that is one of the things that we're going to want to preach here. Because that divide and conquer thing, in as much as it's a cliche, yes, it's a cliche, but it is true. It is a cliche, but it is true. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we don't only talk about the cliches. We don't only do that, but we come to folks and let them know what's going on. So anyhow, what's today's program? Today's program is titled, Why Are Americans Confused? What is the real fight and who is the real enemy? And subtitle, A Confluence of Distinct Issues Unite the Majority of Americans, irrespective of party or ideology. Unfortunately, the plutocracy generates purposeful misinformation to divide, but for a purpose. If you think for 1 minute that the news media allows all these folks to come on TV and spew crap, and that is exactly what I mean. Just spew this information, and somehow, oh, they just let it slide because that's who they are. No. That is their intent. That is their intent. Don't ever be fooled into believing that somehow, when you see these guys on TV telling you stuff, that somehow they don't know, that somehow they don't realize that they're lying to you. They do know that. Even the people who are, well, we're going to talk about Chuck Todd later on and what he allowed Romney to do yesterday on TV, because that made my blood boil. But the reason it boiled is not because I was just upset. The reason it boiled is that the way the information was put out, it was pretty darn clear that it was purposeful and had a reason to put it out that way, you know? The dismantling of Obamacare that's going on right now, I mean, it's not something. Good afternoon, Billy, Allison Irwin. Good afternoon, Mike Cisak. Good afternoon, Marian Richards Castiglia. Buenas tardes a todos mis amigos. Everybody, good afternoon. A mis amigos latinos también, bienvenido al programa. But folks, it is so important that we start to gravitate to the truth. But what I want to ask you guys is, when you listen to the show and when we talk issues, right? Don't just let it stay with our choir. Don't let it just be here. You hear it, you get satisfied with the information you have, and then you move on. Okay, you've been filled with, okay, yeah, I know that's true, Egberto. I believe you, and all of that. We have, you know, back at Coffee Party USA, we had this program there called Be the Media. And the reason we had a program called Be the Media is we understood within our hearts, we understood that what was going on was a fraud, right? We understood that we, the people, could not depend on the mainstream news media. Marian Castiglia, I see that you say it's frozen. I'm looking at another screen here, and it's good. So it may just be your internet kind of giving you some problems there. But at Coffee Party USA, we understood that the media out there was not there to inform you with the information you necessarily needed or fact-based information. It was there to promote something. We understood that. Okay? We understood that. So anyhow, what happens? We created this system or this program called Be the Media. And within Be the Media, everybody that posted at our page, which had over 1 million people on it, we made sure that we were, and by the way, it wasn't ideological. I am ideologically to the left. We had some that were ideologically to the right. We had some that were very centered. But the one thing that we had as a goal when we united all these things on these pages was, the one goal we had is whatever side you came with the information, let it be fact-based so that our family, our Coffee Party USA family, could know that they could come to that page and for all practical purposes, irrespective of their ideology, know that they're going to get some truth. So yes, they may not want big government, and I may write a blog post that had something about a large program that is necessary, and you may disagree. As long as it's fact-based, you could understand that, well, at least I know I'm not getting something crazy. You have to be the media. That is what we started to preach. You have to be the media. Because the media is no longer there as a fourth estate. It is no longer there to watch the politicians. It has become a ward of the politicians. So in the show today, remember this. I became extremely frustrated, extraordinarily frustrated watching Sunday's morning news shows on this Sunday. So why do I continue to watch them, you ask? Because I must. We must, not only me, you must watch it too. Those of you who are going to be out there helping promote, put out these things, you got to be there. Watching them ensures that we understand what most Americans who vote are seeing. You know, it is so easy. That is amazing. It is so easy, my friends. It is so easy. It is so easy. Sorry about that. I am not sure how Skype got into the fold. But it is so easy for us to look at our friends, and when they are when they don't have things the way that we see it, think, oh, they're stupid, they're missing. No, they're not. No, they're not. Your Republican buddy is not stupid. Your Trumpist is not stupid. They have been programmed from a particular direction. We have been programmed from a particular direction. The only thing about our programming is, for all practical purposes, our programming is right. And why do I say our programming is right? Because it is backed up by data. There's not. I mean, there is climate change, and we can point to the parameters. They point to faith. We can point to the parameters that says women should have the right to choose because it's an economic issue as well. It is wrong. But they don't do certain things to solve those problems that create those issues in the first place. So we know on the left side, we know on these particular issues we are right. Are they right on some issues? Of course they are. There are certain parts of the left issues that I have to kind of move away from because the right has it correct. I mean, having people have a lot more skin in the game than a lot of true blue progressive would have. You know, I've learned from having a business, from working with people, that, yeah, skin in the game makes it a lot more, makes it that you want to be a lot more productive in whatever issue. And there are certain things that, again, there's una mezcla de los ideólogos, mixture of these ideologies that we have to get into that makes it. So yeah. And yes, Mike Cisak, the left side is much more fact-based. The right side doesn't work on facts. I mean, some of the things that you throw out on the screen, my dear friend, I love you, Mike Cisak, but some of the data that you use as facts come from your media. I understand that. It's simply that's a media designed to mislead you. And they've done a good job, and I don't hold you accountable for it. I have to first earn your trust so that you start looking at the real data that we have to present to you. And I'll do that. You're here with us. So, I mean, in the long run, I imagine at some point in time, you'll get there. You'll probably get there at some point in time. Anyhow, so going back to the program that as we're going to have the program today, let's later Sunday's news show gives us direction in preparing material necessary to deprogram Americans from the lies, misinformation, and missed opportunities by supposed journalists. Today we correct Chuck Todd's screw up in his Mitt Romney interview. Later, I want to go over a video a friend sent to me. It shows two deer fighting each other while the tiger approaches for the kill. Folks, do remember this is a call-in show. The call-in number is 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. I would love to hear from you. I definitely would love to hear from you. So without further ado, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and read the Chuck Todd. What I better do is I better play the Chuck Todd piece, and then I'll read the blog of the week. So here is the deal with, let me see which one. This is not the one that I want. I need to go ahead and pick that one up, because I think what I did is I put in the wrong shot in our screen here. So what I want to do is I want to pick up on the particular Chuck Todd shot, because what he did, what he did was horrendous. And when I say horrendous, I mean horrendous. And the reason why is he has an audience. He has a whole lot of people there that are watching. There is no reason for you to not get your facts straight. And not only that, if you are going to interview somebody, make sure that you get it right. If you're going to provide a good interview, if you're going to provide an interview you want people to be cognizant of, and you want people to say, I get it. Then you want to make sure that that interview is done appropriately right. And I think this is the interview here. Let me see. I think I can. Bear with me 1 second as I pull her into the fold. I think this is the interview here, and what I'm going to do is crop her in so that I can provide to you that interview that I'm talking about now. I think this is it, so bear with me. This is it. Check this out.
You won election in Utah on the same ballot that a majority of your constituents wanted to see Medicaid expanded. What would you do now with health care? Would you scrap the system we have and build from scratch? Or do you take the Obamacare infrastructure, which many will note was modeled in some ways off of what you did in Massachusetts, and try to reform from there?
Obamacare applies to about 20, maybe 25% of the population, because for 75 to 80% of the population, we get our insurance through our employer or through Medicare or through traditional Medicaid. And right now with Obamacare, that's a federal program. I think what you're going to see from Republicans is a federal-state partnership where the federal government sets the parameters and the states are given more flexibility to create ways to care for their own low-income individuals. I think a federal-state partnership is a much wiser way to go. And I think you're going to see proposals coming from our side that say, look, we can make the current system of private insurance, which 75, 80% of Americans have, we can keep that in place, get costs down, more flexibility, and Obamacare needs to be repealed. And by the way, the Democrats agree with us, because they're calling for Medicare for all. Medicare for all wipes out Obamacare.
I want to ask you, though, about the Medicaid decision by your constituents. The legislature wants to tighten what your constituents wanted. Is that the right call?
Well, the legislature in Utah said, look, we want to make sure that if we're going to expand our Medicaid population, we're going to only do so long as the federal government is picking up 90% of the bill. But if the federal government decides to back off that 90% number, then we, the state legislature, don't want to pick up the bill.
Okay, look, anybody who watches that, right? You watch that, it sounds pretty solid. It seems like a good interview. Chuck Todd did his work. All of that, for the average American citizen watching to that was all good. That was a solid interview. You may not necessarily like Mitt Romney, but he comes across kind of agreeable. He comes across like if that was not something that was dangerous, that was not something that was bad, that was just your average regular interview. That was a terrible interview. That was a horrendous interview. That not only was a horrendous interview, what that did to many is that changed the debate, and that has allowed a whole lot of people who are predisposed to believe that there is an issue, that the issue is not what it is with healthcare, to fall for it. So with that in mind, that is what the blog of the week, the first blog of the week that I'm doing today is about. So do you know, my dear friends, what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay. And here it goes, folks. And this is important. I want you to listen, please, to this blog post. It's not long. It is short and detailed, but it covers that outlook. And then we'll talk about it a little bit more. But here it goes. The title was Chuck Todd's Romney interview. Big fail that shows why Americans uninformed on healthcare and much more. And it goes as follows. Chuck Todd reverted to form on Sunday's Meet the Press. He interviewed Senator Mitt Romney with excellent questions. The problem is that he accepted Romney's answers at face value. Sadly, for the average American, after listening to the interview, they would have left more misinformed than they were in the beginning. Again, think about this. You just listened to Mitt Romney, and my contention is most people who just listened to that interview would have left that interview more uninformed than they would have if they had not listened to that interview at all. And why do I say that? I am convinced that it is not only being wards of the plutocracy that causes mainstream media talking heads like Chuck Todd to allow the misinformation. There is a level of wanting to ingratiate with these people that may also be causal. So maybe it's not only that they're wards of the plutocracy, even though we know that they are wards of the plutocracy, but just maybe, they just want to ingratiate themselves with the powerful. But no, in short, in the short interview, Todd allowed a lie, a spin, and a moral failure to go unchallenged. Ironically, in the one with Mayor Pete before the Romney interview, he was holding the mayor to account for every word. So he gave a solid interview to the mayor, Buttigieg, okay? But that's how it seems they always do when it comes to progressives or pseudo-progressives or lightly progressives or whatever you want to call Buttigieg. But when it came to Romney, Romney got the soft treatment, the cordial treatment, that we are men treatment. We are the right kind of people treatment. Chuck Todd correctly pointed out that Obamacare was very similar to Massachusetts Romney Care. He then asked Romney if he wanted to start health care from scratch. Remember that? That's the interview we just did. Before his bloviation, Romney lied. He said that Obamacare only affected 20% or so of Americans. Chuck Todd never pushed back. In not pushing back, he left in the ethos that most Americans would not be affected by repeal. The reality is any repeal of Obamacare removes hard-fought-for protections like the elimination of caps, rescissions, and discrimination against women. It also removes pre-existing condition protections and the carrying of children up to age 26 on their parents' policies. It does all of that. So when people say, okay, only 20% of Americans go to the exchange, or only 20% of Americans are affected by Obamacare, I only listed a few. I'm not done with that blog, but let me kind of corroborate some more. You don't only lose that. And what do I mean by caps? There was a time in this country before the Affordable Care Act that you buy an insurance policy, and let's say after the insurance policy, let's say after the hospitals and everybody else pilfered you for $1 million, they bill the insurance company. The insurance company will say, okay, no más. Ya estamos terminados, no vamos a pagar nada más. We are no longer going to pay anything. And it was legal, because if you read your contract, it says they can do that. There was also rescission. If for some reason that insurance company is thinking, oh my God, I think you had a little nodule before you bought this policy. We ain't paying. We're not paying. No lo vamos a pagar. They could get out of the policy that way as well and leave you sticking to the bill. And by the way, when you get into a hospital or a doctor or whatever, you're signing that if the insurance companies don't pay, you are. Okay? So Obamacare protects against that. Your kids under 26, they have to be allowed on your policies, whether you work for a job or you got it on the exchange. That's gone. What you call protection, pre-existing conditions? Oh my God. They don't have a solution for that. And by the way, I thought that was a saving grace of turning Obamacare into Medicare for all. And guess what? Romney and all of those guys know that's the case, and that is why they're making sure to make pre-existing conditions not necessary by insurance companies, because they know that's the coup de grace. That is how our private insurance company is turned into Medicare for all, by necessity. Because we all knew when everybody had to be covered, when nobody could be discriminated against, that does not fit the private healthcare model. It does not fit the model to cover people. The private healthcare model is an evil model that depends on you not using it. It depends on people dying. That is it. And I'm not exaggerating, people. The model of health insurance is simple. We pay the least possible, meaning at certain points, it is best for you to die. So we will delay, deny, and everything until you die, and then we are not responsible any further. That's the private healthcare model. And if you doubt it, just check Texas. So I know I have listeners all over the country, but let me tell you what happened in Texas, right? In Texas, this is a state with the largest uninsured population, bar none, in the country. Moreover, we are the state that is suing the government to tell them we want Obamacare repealed. And not only is Texas doing that, but Texas is also saying, and we don't want the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, even though Texas pays into that fund by law. So we are paying at billions of dollars every year to the federal government, and we are not, our citizens of Texas are not getting the health care they're paying for. We're paying for it, but because our government think, oh my God, we cannot do anything Obamacare, then we do what? We give it up. We just let it go. And for that, the Family Values Party, Republicans, the Family Values Party is killing over 2,000 Texans every year. Okay? That is not speculation. That's a fact. And that is a marginally small number. Why? Because if you take into consideration all the future deaths from people who are not seeking coverage because they can't afford it, because our state did not accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, it is even more so. So by the way, if you're a Texan, right now we are in session. We have bills. I can't remember the number of the bill right now, but you can look it up. Right now in Texas, we are in session in Congress. We don't have enough people marching on Capitol Hill, on the Austin Capitol, to tell these guys, we are voting you out in 2020 if you don't give us Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act and drop your lawsuit to kill Obamacare. I mean, those are things that, these guys are killing people and going around as if they are bastion of morality. While they're killing people. Look, Texas, and hear me, Texas Republican congressmen, Texas Republican senators are assassinating Texans by not giving them health care that Texans are already paying for. And Republicans who are voting these guys in continuously, my dear friends, many of my friends who don't yet see it, you are accessories to murder. And those of you who think you are Christians, you are going exactly against everything Jesus has preached. Is that so hard to see? I know many of you not listening to me. Many of you, the pastors in your church, the evil pastors in your church, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Any preacher in your church that does not support in Texas the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care until at least something else is available for the Texans that don't have health care, they are implicitly evil, ungodly, and they should be given the same treatment those that don't have coverage get. And why am I saying that? Because that is what Jesus would have done. And they claim to be disciples of Jesus. So please remember that. Please remember that. So Mitt Romney, on that first bloviation, when he talks about Obamacare is only affecting 20% of people, he is absolutely lying. And Chuck Todd knows it because he knows the law. And nobody corrected Mitt Romney. So most of Americans who listen to that show think, oh, well, what the Republicans want to do with repeal, they may repeal and then they may do some patchworks and do other things. This is not about patchworks. The reason Obamacare was several hundred pages long is they had to take care of all those disparate issues within our different health care laws. It's not like, oh, it's a big bunch of papers. Look at it. Why is it so complicated? It's complicated like that because you don't have Medicare for all. You want to simplify? Medicare for all simplifies everything. One system. One system. That's what Medicare for all is. One system, one person paying bills. There's nothing there's nothing else needed for healthcare. Every country in the world has at least some form of that. And any country not practicing Medicare for all, they're doing it, yes, for business reason, but at least they have universal coverage. And if their prices are a bit higher, at least they're covering their people. Now, so I spoke about the lie that Mitt Romney told that Chuck Todd did not correct. So, later when discussing private insurance, Romney claimed that Republicans wanted to create a plan more state-centered. He spoke magically, reducing with no specific no specifics on how they would do it, Todd never reminded him that while in control of government, Republicans did absolutely nothing to ease the healthcare pain on Americans. They fought for repeal with nothing to offer in its place. So here is Romney right there telling Chuck Todd, oh, Republicans, what we want is a more state-centered system, and so we have a lot of plans that we're going to throw out there for us to get something. Look, for the 80-plus times that they've passed, that they've tried to kill Obamacare, the reason why it really never died is they had nothing to offer, and they didn't want to have the pitchforks on them when their own people realized that the Affordable Care Act is the same thing as Obamacare, and it's the same thing that's keeping them alive. When their people who use Medicaid more than anybody else, their own people in Appalachia and other places, and those are the brothers we need to unite. We got to put all these people together so that we can really get rid of the cancer that's afflicting this country deep on the inside. But when he comes out and he says, "Oh, Chuck Todd never came back and said, well, you guys had power for this long, and you guys attempted to overthrow, get rid of Obamacare or repeal Obamacare all these years. How comes you didn't have any plan? You had a repeal plan, but you never had a plan that says this is how the system is going to work after we repeal Obamacare." No questions on that. So here, Americans, hear one more promise, just like Trump is saying, "Oh, we have a great plan after 2020, then we'll show you." Now, I mean, how many times Republicans, friends, conservatives, and blue dog Democrats that don't want Medicare for all, how many times do you have to be lied to? How many times do you have to be given the numbers that tell you, mathematically speaking, private insurance is a failure? It's a failure because they can only make profit by denying you service. Even when we introduce private healthcare in the Medicare plan that we have, and by the way, Medicare for All isn't the Medicare plan we're talking about. It's not the Medicare older folk get right now. Medicare for All is just health care for everybody. You pay nothing. We pay taxes, and you use a card. You go in for health care, and that's it. You don't worry about co-pays and all that kind of stuff. No, you don't. Where the money come from? We have a ton of money, folks. We have a lot of money. We have a lot of money, including stolen money by the plutocrats, all of that. If we correctly tax the money, we will keep a strong economy. Monies will flow to the right places, and we'll have a vibrant economy that, with healthcare, that can pay for it all. We are a very, very rich country. They don't want to tell you how rich a country we are because all the spoils go to a very few, and we'll have shows on other issues that shows you the obscenity in the wealth in this country. When one person, Jeff Bezos, can amass $160 billion, one person, it tells you the kind of capital appreciation that we can get and what we have to use. What I say is, let's go depreciate. Let's go ahead and have modern monetary theory. I did a show on that a few weeks ago, but I'm going to have to do it. I had economists Richard Wolff on. I didn't discuss modern monetary theory, but he also agrees in the expansion of money supply. If you have products chasing money, you don't have an inflationary problem. But that's another subject that I'm not going to get into right now. That's economics. Right now we're talking the evil that Chuck did with the program he had on healthcare with Mitt Romney. So, brothers and sisters that are listening to this, I hope you're absorbing. I hope you're listening. I hope you understand this. I am not just talking from some crazy point of view. Everything that I'm saying is fact-based, but I never want people to take what I'm saying at face value. I'd really much prefer if you go ahead and researched it. Everything that I said, you can find out, and you can find out the truth. You can find it out. So that was the second item with the interview that Chuck Todd did. He did not allow the questioning of Romney about how are they going to cover first of all, when Romney says, "Oh, we want to do it at the state level." No, we don't. Texas is killing its people. We don't want this new medical system to be run by states. The Republicans in Texas has no problem making or allowing many of their citizens to die from lack of health care. They don't have a problem with that. So why would we want to have that under state control? That is like saying put voter under control. Right now in Texas legislature, it's SB, I don't remember what number, they are attempting to say people cannot carpool to the voting booth. In other words, if you can't have more than 3 people bringing them to go vote. In other words, if you say, hey, let's have a voting party, and you go pick up 10 people in a van and say, okay, let's go vote. They want to make that illegal in Texas. There is a bill in our legislature now, right now. We have Indivisible Houston, we have Swing Left, and all these guys are out there fighting that bill right now. Okay? This is what we're talking when we talk about, state control? State control? Are you crazy? The states have already proven that they don't mind killing people. They do, and notice I'm using the graphic language. A lot of people, well, Egberto, are you going to really say killing? Yes, yes, yes. The reason why, I heard people talk on the phone, and please stay with me, folks, because I have to cover the last subject, and the last subject is important as well. But, people say, after these massacres that we have with guns and all these things, right? Why is it that they are not shown on TV? I don't know, but I tell you what, I think if a lot of people got onto TV and went into those high schools with blood and bones and brain fragments all splattered across the wall, if they saw what their stand for their false stand for the Second Amendment is doing to humanity, to their fellow students, their fellow kids, if Americans got to see the carnage, the blood and guts that our policies create, I bet we start, just like in Australia and in New Zealand, I bet we start to get real sensible policies. And the same goes with healthcare. If Americans knew that their Republican if Texans knew that their Republican legislature was murdering Texans, and not just you watch TV and say, they're fighting about whether to accept the Affordable Care Act, item number 1. Number 2, Texas decided to sue the United States government to stop Obamacare. That's how it sounds, right? It doesn't sound urgent. But if you are sitting down with a mass in your belly at home, if you're sitting down bleeding through your you-know-what at home because you haven't been able to get health care, if Americans saw that, if our media was worth anything, our media, once we understand that the Republican legislature is murdering Texans, if they went to the victims, if our Texas media, the mainstream Texas media, went and visited all these 1 million+ people without insurance who have growths, who have bleedings, who have all these diseases, if we got them to go and do news and found these people that were hurting, found these people that had problems, do you think Americans would stand for? Texans are good people. Even the Texans voting for those criminals are good people. They're ideological. They're good people, but they're conservative. They want to, they have that thing that they believe in, just like progressives have that thing that they believe in. So they want to vote for people that say, I'm like you in your values. Not realizing that the value thing is nothing but a thing that has no value, because the people who are trying to support your values are a bunch of charlatans that are using you. They're using you Republicans, they're using you Democrats, all of us are being used. And that's what I'm going to cover in the second subject because of that little thing that my good friend Elizabeth Parker sent me. But before, let me finish the blog, and then I'm going to jump to the other one. But lastly, it goes like this. Lastly, the Utah voters voted for the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. Finally, a lot of red states have because they've got sensible. But Utah got sensible. They voted for the expansion to the Affordable Care. The people overwhelmingly supported the Medicaid expansion to Obamacare, the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act. They supported it. They voted for it. Yay! Their legislature is now attempting to obstruct the people's vote by getting waivers to be less generous. Romney gave the impression, when Chuck Todd just asked him, Romney gave the impression that the only issue was Utah wanted the ability to opt out if the federal government did not fund their share of the program, which is 90%. That was a false statement. That was a false statement, but there was a moral component that Chuck Todd did not follow up on at all. In effect, Romney was antiseptic in talking about the health of the people in his state. He just made it a cost issue instead of a human issue, and Todd never called him on it. In other words, he says, well, if the federal government doesn't pay for it, we need to have the option to not have the program at all. Romney, you're a Mormon. You care about people. What happened if you just say that? How comes Chuck Todd didn't follow up and said, so what happens to the people if they lose their coverage? Well, just look at Texas. They die. In Texas, we die. We just don't have anybody covering it, but they die. We just drop dead. Too many people are dying, and nobody is listening, and nobody is attaching it to the evilness of the Texas Republican legislature that is generating laws that kill people. And I mean that. I'm not buttering that up. I mean that. The Texas legislature is killing people, killing Texans, and it is mostly killing their own. When I say their own, I mean those people who voted for them. It is killing their own. There is no doubt that any average listener of that interview left much more misinformed than had they not watched it at all. And that is a shame, especially in these times. Our mainstream media is to blame for much of the failings in the body politic. Chuck Todd is a good barometer of how mainstream press covers or not, national and international events based on pros versus cons of his reporting. It's all not good. And that is why as many of us as possible must become the new media or assist in keeping a vibrant, independent media. Stick with me. I want to just do one quick push on asking you, and then I'm going to the other story. And this story, I want you to see this video about the lions and the lions and the deer, and then I want to go into a detailed explanation about how we, not only Democrats against Democrats, not only Republicans against Republicans, but Democrats against Republicans. So stop it, people. I love Republicans. I love Democrats. I love independents. I love everybody, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. That is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I am not making any distinction like these plutocrats are, keeping us apart so that we can lose together. I am for us taking the whole damn thing back. And it's not about Democrats and Republicans, but we'll get there in a little bit. Folks, if you're just joining us, please remember, this is a progressive show, and I need your support. Politics Done Right need your support. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Support a program that is intent on not allowing them to screw us anymore. Protect a program, support a program that makes the promise to you that we are going to be fact-based. We're going to tell it like it is. We're not going to be like any other show, or any other over-the-air show. And by the way, we do this at KPFT on Tuesdays at 3, but we are on every single day at 3 o'clock. Every single day. So please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Subscribe. All our subscribers get a lot of whole goodies. You can get our bumper sticker. We're going to have some cups pretty soon that I'm getting on order. We're going to also have a whole lot of other stuff coming up. But you can read online immediately, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. That's a book that I wrote a few years ago. It's so still in vogue. It still sells. And the reason it still sells is because the information is something that you learn a lot from. You learn how our economy runs in an easy-to-understand manner. I promise you it's easy to understand. You can read it online. All subscribers can read the book online. And of course, you can read the book. I'm on my the third chapter of How to Make America Utopia. That book is online. As I release a chapter, I put the chapter online for our subscribers to see as well. And of course, I just lost some weight. You know, even activists can sometimes get out of whack. I finally did it for good. I am not going back where I was, and I give you how I did it in this short book called Lose Weight and Be Fit Now. Again, please, subscribers, get this book free. Any subscriber get all our books going forward, and I have about 4 to write this year. All these books are going to be yours to read online. Patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. And by the way, if you just want to give a contribution to keep this baby going, just go to politicsdoneright.com, click on the donate button, and we will be in business. Anyway, back to the show now. Thank you for hearing me out on that, but I really need you to stick with me here. I need to bring up that other video, and this other video, I just went and processed it. Elizabeth Parker did the video, and I needed to put it into a format that is compatible with Wirecast, the system that I'm using here. So bear with me as I position that picture here so that we can all see it. What I want you to see is this. I think I may have put, I don't remember, I think I put a little bit of sound in it, but I just want to, it's about 30 seconds or so. Check this out, and then I'll take it on the other side. Watch those two fighting in the background. Other deer watching the fight. We have some deer watching the fight. Then they see something. These guys are concentrating on fighting each other. That's all they can see. They gotta fight each other. They're fighting each other. They're fighting each other. But something lurking. There is something lurking. And guess what? Before they know it, they take them down. Let me tell you what that is. My good friend. He's gone. He's gone. The system has got him. Completely. Let me tell you what I want to say about that. Okay, I thought it was 30 seconds. It's almost done. Because they want you to see that he's gone. He's taking his prey. Okay. All right. Here's what I want to do now. Here's the deal. That is us. That is us. I'm not talking about, my friend who sent that is a staunch progressive. And I know why she sent that, or put that out. The idea is there seems to be sort of a war inside, not a war, but sort of a semi-discrepancy type thing going on within the Democratic Party between progressives and the mainstream Democrats, right? And I understand it. And I think it needs to be there. I think progressives have to start asserting themselves because we have done, Democrats on a whole, I think one of the problems we have is we have not been able to distinguish ourselves sufficiently to give people in the faith and of the values that we support, which are people values. And I don't think we've done a good job. I'll be frank. I honestly do not think we've done a good job in preaching who we are. And I think we've been paying for that for a very long time. So when my friend sent that to me, it touched me. And I wrote the following blog, and I'm going to read it real quickly, and then I'm going to go into some quick explanation. It goes like this. My good friend, joined the Coffee Party movement, colleague, and fellow Netrootisan, meaning from Netroots Nation, Elizabeth Parker posted the video in this post. This is so true on many levels. We concentrate on the wrong fight. I am sure she likely meant the progressive centrist battle that is taking place in the Democratic Party. The thing is, I am looking at it much deeper. I love my Republican folk just as much as my Democratic folk. You see, I am a humanist. I want you to listen to this well. Our inter and intra-party fights are a ruse, folks. The polls point out that absent a few social issues, all middle class and poor people want the same things. What is even more interesting is that intra-ideological and intra-party differences many times exceed inter-party, inter-ideological differences. What do I mean by that? And this is a very important concept. You can find that there are bigger differences between two Democrats or two major differences between two Republicans than you would find between a Democrat and a Republican. And I've actually seen that happen. And I'm like, wow, if you take a look at the Democratic Party right now, if you look at the Democrats who want to save the private insurance companies, they are no different than the Republicans who want to keep the type of system we have. They are more in common together. That Democrat has more in common with that Republican than that Democrat has in common with a progressive Democrat. Okay? So we can't be fooled. We have differences in the way we think. So that's what I mean there. What is even more interesting is that intra-ideological, intra-party differences many times exceed inter-party, inter-ideological differences. They continue to play us, folks. They rip everything away by keeping our eyes off the ball. Be sure to listen to us. That's what we talk about on Politics Done Right. That's what I promise. We are going to keep eyes open, and we are going to keep this place open to everybody. If you notice, my Republicans that come on this show and give me a hard time, I love these guys. They keep me on my toes because there's something I say, and they'll say, oh, well, what about this? And force me to go into more detail and explain. By the way, the Powell Memo is one of the documents the reigning plutocracy followed word for word. These folks knew that the masses were getting smarter. A smarter population would demand what the system rewarded them with what is rightfully theirs. The memo's message taught many how to feel undeserving and hate on those who require their piece of the pie. I want to repeat that. The memo's message taught many how to feel undeserving. You don't deserve that. And hate on those who require their piece of the pie. Have you ever wondered, and this is an important statement I'm going to make here, so please, please, please listen to this. Have you ever wondered why a non-union worker fights to bring the union worker wage down instead of demand they are compensated deservedly like a union worker? You know why? You were programmed that way. We were all programmed to believe, let's always, it's about bringing down. We bring people down as we lift the plutocracy up. They don't deserve that. We are the ones doing the work. We are the ones bringing the intellect. Jeff Bezos doesn't know a damn thing. Let me be frank. Jeff Bezos didn't do something wonderful. If you read my book, I gave the story about one click. Before I gave up my company to do this, I was a software developer. And I was developing a one-click series when the web was just new and coming out, and found out it was patented. Okay? Other people do these things for these guys. Capital, people. Capitalism, capital, people. Richard Wolff, economist Richard Wolff was on my show 2 or 3 days ago. And he said, what is the difference between feudalism, slavery, and capitalism? And after you listen to that explanation, and I'm going to cut that out and put it into a video on its own. After you listen to that explanation, you realize that we are all slaves. We have the guardians of the doors, the executives that make good money at these companies, they are slaves too, but in slavery days they had the field N and the house N. The corporate folk are the house N's. Okay, I hate to use those words. Forgive me for those people who are just offended. But I just wanted to give the gravity of the situation, because a lot of people, they're making their $200,000 and $300,000 or $400,000 and they're it. They have it. They just don't realize that they are kept at a level sufficient so that they can screw everybody else. Look, I know I had my own company, okay? I had to teach myself that I had pricing power, and with my pricing power comes responsibility. It could either be good or bad. I chose good. Most corporations choose bad, unfortunately. So anyhow, until we start first believing in our worth and then demanding our worth, nothing will change. But we must direct our ire in the right places. Your friend of a different party, ideology, faith, race, religion, and any other isn't the problem. Our indoctrination by an evil sect is the problem. It's not you. It's not your friend. It's not the other. It's not those immigrants. They play us so much. Even with the immigrants, they play us. The only reason immigrants come here is because our employers, the plutocracy, has work to give them, generally to screw them so they don't have to pay Americans as much. Okay? So let's love each other, the average American citizen. And let us stop allowing the system to screw us. That's what we do. Republicans, Democrats, independents, whatever you want to call yourself, I can tell you this. You see me anywhere outside of this studio. I love you all. We can sit down and break bread, have coffee, talk, all that kind of stuff. I have nothing against any one of you. Zero, nada, niet, nothing. And I am trying to get us there. I am trying to get us to a point where we stop allowing the plutocracy to screw us all by fighting each other. Oh, you want abortion, you want freebies, all that. No. Most people want a damn job. Most people want good things. Most people want things that don't get them. Look, most people on this planet are good people. They have to make us bad to split us up so that a few can control everything. And the thing about it is a few that control everything aren't the smartest at all. I need you folks to listen to me, my brothers and my sisters, honestly. This is not conjecture. It's all written out in the Powell memo. All of this was designed to happen. We told you from the 1980s what the policies were going to do. Nobody listens, and it did. But it still don't tell you that these policies are what they've done. So all I'm asking you folks, stick with me. Stick with this program. We're going to be talking, we continue to talk all these things. Go to Politics Done Right and check out the different programs that we've done. Please. And realize, as we get excited about things, let's not do it against each other. We are not the problem. All the people that maybe, I haven't looked at the Facebook page, I'll answer those things later on. But all those people, anybody on this Facebook page that attacks me right now, I'm not going to attack them. I'm going to just answer them nicely. I have nothing against folk because I understand what has been done to us. I really, really understand what has been done to us. And I will not play that game. You guys are all my people. I want to do one more ask here. Please, folks, those of you that are listening, please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Become a subscriber. We need you. We are going to be we are going to be at Netroots. We're going to be in DC doing a few things, doing a few interviews to bring real stuff to you. We are out there for you. Later on, when we come in, we need some equipment, some more mobile equipment that we're going to be coming for as well. But this is your place. This is your show. And you have the ability to participate as well. If you take a look at politicsdoneright.com, you'll get a chance to see that we interview everybody. We bring in average person off. Somebody has something to say. This is your show. You want to be on air to say something, this is your show. Whether it's here in the studio, whether we bring you in remotely, or whether we reach you at the KPFT 90.1 studios. In either in Kingwood, in Montrose, or through internet. It's your show. It is your show. So we're asking you, my dear friends, support us at patreon.com/politicsdoneright. You have something to say, you call in. You want to have your videos on, call. You can come in and we can bring you in and you have your FaceTime. Take a look at what we intend to do. Read our 10-point plan for 2019. We're trying like hell to fulfill and and do that. But we do need your support. So please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Thank you so kindly. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Thank you so kindly for listening. please so kindly to share the show. Let people understand what is going on. Let people understand that we're being played. They're playing us. We need you to understand that. Once you understand that, the hate goes away. That is why I can't hate the other folk. Because I know we are all programmed. I understand it. Can't hate like that, man. Patreon.com/Politics and Right. Thank you so kindly for being here. My name is Egberto Willies, and you know how I end this show. This is Politics and Right. My name is Egberto Willies, and I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3.